Hello, classmates, and welcome to our second group discussion. For this discussion, we focus on three overall topics: models of adjustment to disability, ethics, policy, and legislation related to disability, and the disability right movements. In order to address these three topics and how they are interconnected, I examined the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, known as the IDEA. Since ancient times, individuals have been overly concerned about their external characteristics and have held the belief that somehow the appearances of the physique were reflections of the inner self. Even today, disability is considered a challenge. It is perceived as a misfortune that results in a very extensive and difficult journey through life unique to those with a disability. Many many human beings argue that this population is labeled, and it's true. Nevertheless, a disability does not determine what a person can do. Models of adjustment to a disability are influenced by and influence disability activism and contemporary legislation. These models are tools for defining impairment and ultimately for providing a basis upon which the movement can develop plans for meeting the needs of individuals with a disability, even guiding the legislation. Furthermore, models of adjustment to a disability are important because they allow us to understand the different ways society interprets what disability means. Also, there are civil rights to protect and guarantee equal opportunities for this population. Society has to obey the laws and protect individuals with disabilities. Today, we can see how people with disabilities are being protected and entitled to equal employment and education opportunities. For instance, students with disabilities are eligible for a free, appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment according to their needs. Federal laws protect the rights of students with disabilities, which can include children with learning and attention issues. Prior to Individuals with Disabilities Education Act (IDEA), over 4 million children with disabilities were denied appropriate access to public education. Many children were denied entry into public schools, while others were placed in segregated classrooms or in a regular classroom without adequate support for their special needs. After the IDEA law passed, students who have different disabilities receive accommodations to be able to fulfill education needs. Marini, Glover Graff, and Millington stated the Act assesses and treats students with disabilities throughout their public schooling, whether the service is therapy, career counseling, or specialized teaching tutoring. Each student is different, and some students may need one-to-one instructions. Furthermore, students with disabilities may need special devices such as magnifiers or CCTVs. Some may also need material to be enlarged, hearing aids, and preferable seating. All of those accommodations and adaptations that make a person functional. Models of models of adjustment to a disability, ethics, policy, and legislation related to disability and the disability rights movement have opened the eyes of more than one on how individuals with disabilities are entitled to the same rights as people without disabilities. For instance, in the agency that I work, the Texas Workforce Commission, vocational rehabilitation counselors are required to take several mandatory trainings and have certain knowledge and education regarding to this field. This also applies to schools and behavioral centers. I feel individuals with disabilities have the right to have the best service possible, and this is done through implementations of federal laws that protect this population. As my classmate Billy added to my discussion, that Individuals with Disabilities Education Act is a great example of models of adjustments to disability ethics, policy, and legislation. He also mentioned that the Education for All Handicapped Children Act, EHA, was signed into law by President Gerald Ford in 1975. The EHA law name was changed in 1990 and is now known as the IDEA today. The amendment change to IDEA have assisted millions of disabled individuals and are largely accredited to activism. Billy also stated that he thinks it's awesome that the Texas Workforce Commission requires its employees to take trainings that relevant for helping individuals with disabilities with entitlements. I feel society is becoming more tolerant in how individuals with disabilities are becoming more independent due that they have accessibility. We have to keep in mind that models of adjustment to disability ethics, policy, and legislation related to disability and the disability right movements all interact at one point as this population belongs to many groups and some of them can fall into these models. Thank you and see you once again in the next discussion. Thank you. Have a nice afternoon.